8th of March 1967, Nui Dat, Phuoc Tuy Province, South Vietnam. 5 soldiers walk in single file toward a waiting Iroquois helicopter, their faces painted, their weapons taped to silence metal-on-metal noise. Behind them, the 1st Australian Task Force base hums with the routine sounds of a conventional war. Diesel generators, radio chatter, the clatter of mess tins. Ahead lies enemy-dominated jungle, where the normal rules will not apply. Between 1966 and 1971, 3 Australian SAS Sabre squadrons and 1 New Zealand troop will conduct nearly 1,200 patrols in Phuoc Tuy and neighbouring provinces. Official records will credit them with around 500 confirmed enemy killed, over 100 probable, for fewer than half a dozen SAS dead and about 24 wounded. In the same war, United States forces will expend an estimated 50,000 small arms rounds per enemy casualty. The question that will define this quiet campaign is simple and brutal. How did teams of 5 men, forbidden to be seen, achieve the highest kill ratio of any Australian unit in Vietnam? Canberra, March 1966. On a polished desk in the Department of Defence, a cabinet submission outlines Australia's commitment to the war in South Vietnam. The document specifies a self-contained brigade-sized formation, the 1st Australian Task Force, to be deployed to Phuoc Tuy Province. The mission: secure the province, protect Highway 15 and the logistical corridor from Vung Tau to Saigon, and establish continuous area dominance through patrolling. The task force will comprise 2 infantry battalions, a regiment of field artillery, a squadron of Centurion tanks, engineer and signals units, aviation support, and logistical tail. Total strength: around 4,500 personnel to control a province of roughly 160,000 inhabitants, much of it contested or outright hostile. In Saigon, United States Military Assistance Command Vietnam expects Australian forces to integrate into existing American divisional structures and participate in theater-wide search-and-destroy operations. The Australian government declines. Instead, the cabinet paper specifies a geographically defined area of responsibility, a semi-permanent base, and an operational philosophy emphasizing population security and persistent patrolling over large-scale sweeps. The contrast is doctrinal. American operations are designed around mobility, massed firepower, and body counts tallied after multi-battalion sweeps lasting days or weeks. The Australian model centers on holding ground, knowing terrain, and maintaining continuous low-level presence. By May 1966, the task force is assembling at Nui Dat, a low-hill complex in central Phuoc Tuy. Engineers clear rubber plantations and lay wire. Infantry companies begin patrolling the immediate perimeter. Artillery batteries register defensive fire tasks. On likely avenues of approach, Brigadier David Jackson, the 1st Task Force commander, understands the arithmetic. 2 battalions cannot sweep a province. They must instead make the province transparent through intelligence, then strike decisively when targets are known. For this, Jackson will need eyes in the jungle. He will need reconnaissance patrols that can stay out for days, report movement, and hit targets of opportunity without support. He will need the Special Air Service Regiment. The decision to deploy 1 province from 1 base creates the operational conditions for everything that follows. Unlike transient sweeps, 1 ATF will own the same ground month after month, learning trails, fords, villages, and enemy patterns. The patrols that matter will not be those passing through, but those returning to the same grid squares again and again until the jungle becomes a database. Campbell Barracks, Swanbourne, Perth, June 1966. A movement order assigns 3 Squadron Special Air Service Regiment to South Vietnam as an integral element of 1st Australian Task Force. Aircraft manifests list small loads, 5-man patrols, heavy packs, L1A1 self-loading rifles in 7.62 by 51 mm, M16 rifles, M60 machine guns, M18A1 Claymore mines, PRC-25 radios, rations for 10 days, and camouflage cream. The squadron embarks, knowing it will not conduct the dramatic raids that dominate public perceptions of special forces. Instead, the tasking from 1 ATF headquarters is explicit. Long-range reconnaissance patrols in enemy-dominated territory, observation of Viet Cong movement, identification of base areas and supply routes, and offensive ambushing when targets are confirmed. The patrol structure is fixed early: 4 to 6 men, a patrol commander, a signaller, a medic, and rifleman. No excess. Navigation by map, compass and pace count, communication by hand signal during movement, radio only when stationary or in contact, insertion by helicopter to a false landing zone, then a silent walk to the real patrol area. The objective is not to be seen if the patrol is compromised, extraction by helicopter, or a fighting withdrawal to a pre-planned pickup point If a target is identified, the patrol may call artillery or air support, or it may set an ambush using claymores and pre-registered defensive fire tasks. The patrols do not replace infantry, they prepare the battlefield. Integration with 1 ATF is immediate. Number 9 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force, provides UH-1 Iroquois helicopters for insertion and extraction, operating on strict timings and radio brevity codes. The task force artillery batteries assign liaison officers to register fire missions on likely enemy routes before patrols even deploy. Intelligence staff from the task force brief SAS on recent sightings, captured documents, and signals intercepts. In return, SAS patrol reports feed back into the intelligence cycle, updating the terrain model and target list. By February 1967, the first patrols are walking. The jungle west and north of Nui Dat becomes a laboratory. Each patrol is an experiment in controlled visibility. Can 5 men observe an enemy company without being detected? Can a trail junction be watched for 3 days straight? Can an ambush be executed in under 60 seconds, leaving no trace except bodies? The answers, logged-in patrol reports and contact summaries, will form the basis of a tactical revolution. Nui Dat, July 1966 to December 1968. In a plywood and sandbag operations room, a task force intelligence officer compiles columns from SAS patrol reports. Each line records a date, grid reference, observation, contact, and outcome. By the end of 1967, the columns number in the hundreds. By the end of 1968, they exceed 1,000. The raw numbers begin to tell a story that defies initial assumptions. Early tasking treats SAS patrols as purely observational. Locate enemy positions, count movement, report back. Allow infantry or artillery to engage. Within months, the pattern shifts. Patrols are conducting recce ambush missions, blending reconnaissance with immediate offensive action. A patrol identifies a trail in use, sets a Claymore ambush, waits, executes, and withdraws in minutes. The result is logged, enemy killed, friendly casualties nil, ammunition expended minimal, patrol continues. The aggregate data for 1966 through 1968 shows patrol activity concentrated in the Long High Hills, the Hobo Woods, and the approaches to the Maytao Mountains. Total patrols by 3 squadron and 1 squadron, several hundred. Contacts, dozens. Enemy killed, over 100 confirmed, with additional probables where bodies could not be recovered. SAS casualties, fewer than 10 wounded, 0 killed in action during this period. The disproportionality is stark. A separate analysis by 1 ATF staff examines contact duration across all task force units. The data reveals that over 75% of ambushes and security contacts last fewer than 20 minutes. Roughly half are over in under 5 minutes. For SAS patrols, the median contact time is even shorter. Claymore-initiated ambushes often resolve in seconds. The mines detonate, rifles fire pre-assigned arcs. The patrol displaces to a rally point, calls artillery onto the kill zone as suppression, and moves to an extraction point. There is no maneuver, no sustained firefight, no attempt to hold ground. The geometry is pre-planned, the execution is rehearsed, and the withdrawal is immediate. This brevity is not accident, it is design. SAS doctrine treats contact as a controlled event, not an emergent chaos. The patrol chooses the time, place, range, and supporting fires. If the geometry is wrong, if the enemy is too close, too numerous, or moving in an unexpected direction, the patrol does not engage. It observes, reports, and waits for a better opportunity or calls in artillery and air. The decision to shoot is as deliberate as the decision to remain silent. By late 1968, Viet Cong main force units have largely withdrawn from central Phuoc Tuy into more remote areas. SAS patrols are credited with a significant role in this shift, not by occupying the province with battalions, but by making enemy movement unpredictable and costly. The jungle has become hostile to those who once owned it. Nui Dat and Phuoc Tuy province, 1967 to 1969. In the SAS operations room, a large-scale map of Phuoc Tuy province covers one wall. Grease pencil marks, colored pins, and acetate overlays transform it from a static representation into a living intelligence picture. Each mark represents a reported trail, a stream crossing, a suspected base area, a cache site, or a contact location. Over months and years, the map becomes dense with information. The process of accumulation is methodical. A patrol spends 5 days observing a trail junction and reports compass bearings, width, recent use, and direction. The grid reference is marked. 2 weeks later, a different patrol crosses the same area and confirms the trail, adding details about a nearby water source. The mark is annotated. A third patrol ambushes enemy soldiers at the same junction and recovers documents. The mark becomes a known high-value node. Artillery defensive fire tasks are pre-plotted on the coordinates. Future patrols can call fire by referencing the task number, bypassing the need for lengthy fire missions. This is intelligence fusion at the tactical level. SAS patrol reports are combined with aerial photography from RAAF reconnaissance flights, signals intelligence from 547 signal troops intercept detachment, and captured documents translated by intelligence officers. The result is not a list of isolated sightings, but a terrain model, a network of routes, camps, and supply points that can be targeted, interdicted, or simply watched. The intelligence cycle feeds back into patrol tasking. A signals intercept suggests enemy radio transmissions from a specific valley. Aerial photography shows disturbed vegetation near a stream. An SAS patrol is inserted to confirm. The patrol locates a base camp, counts structures, observes movement, and withdraws without contact. The grid is passed to task force headquarters. A week later, artillery and air strikes hit the camp. A follow-up patrol finds abandoned positions and equipment. The cycle repeats. By 1969, certain crossing points and trail junctions are so well documented that SAS patrols can predict enemy movement windows. A ford on a particular stream is known to be used by enemy supply parties moving at night during the dry season. Patrols schedule ambushes to coincide with expected activity, waiting in position for hours or days. The ambush geometry is perfect because the terrain is known. The withdrawal route is rehearsed because the patrol has walked it before. Even the artillery fire plan is pre-registered because the coordinates are already in the system. The jungle has been converted from an enemy asset into a Commonwealth database. The Viet Cong move through a landscape that is no longer neutral. Every trail they use has been walked, mapped, and targeted. The advantage of local knowledge has reversed. Forward landing zones, Western Phuoc Tuy, 1968 to 1969, a No. 9 Squadron UH-1 Iroquois sits on a hastily cleared pad, rotors turning at idle. 5 SAS soldiers board with no markings on their uniforms, no identification beyond their weapons and packs. The pilot confirms the artillery call sign and extraction time windows over the radio. The helicopter lifts, flies low over the canopy, and descends into a small clearing. The patrol steps off, moving immediately into the tree line. The Iroquois climbs and departs. The jungle is silent. The patrol moves in single file, spacing 5 meters apart, using hand signals. After 2 hours, the patrol commander selects a lying-up position, dense vegetation near a ridgeline with good observation over a valley. The patrol halts, sets a perimeter, and waits. For the next 12 hours, the men observe. They see a trail below, faint but clear, with recent footprints. They note direction, width, and spacing. The commander decides to ambush. The next phase is deliberate. The patrol moves to a position overlooking the trail at a range of 20 meters. The kill zone is a 30-meter stretch of open ground between 2 bends, offering no cover. 2 M18A1 Claymore mines are emplaced on either side of the trail, angled to create overlapping fragmentation cones. Each Claymore contains 700 steel balls behind a curved plastic case and a layer of C4 explosive. Effective range, 50 meters, optimum range, 20 meters or less. The mines are camouflaged and wired to firing devices held by the patrol commander and the second-in-command. Arcs of fire are assigned. The M60 machine gunner covers the far end of the kill zone. 2 riflemen cover the near end. The signaller confirms radio contact with the Task Force Artillery Fire Direction Center and registers a defensive fire task on the trail junction 200 meters north. If the patrol is pursued after the ambush, artillery will land on the likely enemy approach. The extraction point is a clearing 1 kilometer south, reachable in 30 minutes of fast movement. The patrol waits. 6 hours pass. At dusk, 4 enemy soldiers walk down the trail in single file, moving quietly, weapons slung. When all 4 are in the kill zone, the patrol commander initiates. The claymores detonate simultaneously. The riflemen fire into the fragmentation cloud. The engagement lasts 15 seconds. All 4 enemy soldiers are down. The patrol displaces immediately, moving south. No counterfire is received. The extraction helicopter arrives on schedule. The patrol report logs 4 enemy killed, 0 friendly casualties, ammunition expended, 2 claymores, approximately 60 rifle rounds per enemy casualty, 15, Nue Dat, January 1969 to February 1971. A parade ground at Nue Dat sees the formal integration of 4-troop New Zealand Special Air Service into the Australian SAS squadron rotation. The troop comprises 26 personnel, officers, non-commissioned officers, and troopers. In terms of total theatre strength, this is a marginal contribution. New Zealand's entire ground commitment to South Vietnam never exceeds a few hundred personnel, mostly artillery and engineers. Yet the SAS troop is an elite within an elite, selected and trained to the same standards as their Australian counterparts. The integration is seamless. New Zealand SAS patrols adopt the same structure, tactics, and equipment as Australian patrols. L1A1 rifles, M16s, M60 machine guns, Claymores, PRC-25 radios, 10-day ration packs, insertion by Iroquois, navigation by map and compass, reporting by encrypted radio. The patrol areas assigned to New Zealand troop are indistinguishable from those assigned to Australian troops. Remote, hostile, and intelligence poor until the patrols make them otherwise. Between January 1969 and February 1971, New Zealand SAS will conduct over 160 patrols. Of these, the majority are commanded by New Zealand officers and senior NCOs. The patrol reports flow into the same intelligence system as Australian reports. The contacts are logged in the same manner. The results follow the same pattern: short, violent engagements, minimal friendly casualties, disproportionate enemy losses. New Zealand's official post-war summary credits the troop with dozens of confirmed enemy killed and a similar number of probables. The ratio of enemy casualties to friendly casualties mirrors the Australian SAS experience. For a force that never exceeds 26 personnel on the ground at any given time, this is a return on investment that defies conventional force ratios. The significance is not numerical, it is methodological. The fact that a small New Zealand contingent can adopt the same patrol model and achieve comparable results demonstrates that the SAS approach in Vietnam is exportable, repeatable, and independent of nationality. The tactics are not the product of Australian culture or unique training legacy. They are the product of a coherent operational concept: small teams, long endurance, strict noise discipline, intelligence-driven targeting, and controlled engagements. When New Zealand SAS departs Vietnam in February 1971, the troops' patrol log will list more than 160 missions in some of the most hostile terrain in Phuoc Tuy and adjoining provinces. The loss rate remains minimal. The intelligence contribution remains high. The kill ratio remains extraordinary. The lesson is clear: the quiet war works regardless of flag. Their second Field Force Area, the 3rd Corps, South Vietnam, 1967 to 1969. Across the border from Phuoc Tuy, United States Army divisions conduct operations on a scale unimaginable to a task force of 4,500 Australians. Operation Cedar Falls, in January 1967, involves 30,000 troops and generates thousands of artillery missions. Operation Junction City, later the same year, is even larger. The 1st Infantry Division, the 25th Infantry Division, the 173rd Airborne Brigade, and supporting armor and artillery saturate the Iron Triangle and War Zone C with firepower. The operational reports list staggering figures. In a single week, a division may fire tens of thousands of artillery rounds. Tactical air sorties number in the hundreds. The body count, the primary metric of success, reaches into the hundreds or low thousands, though post-war analysis will cast doubt on the accuracy of these figures, noting the inclusion of civilian casualties and unverifiable claims. The ammunition expenditure per enemy casualty becomes a symbol of attrition warfare. Estimates vary, but a commonly cited figure is 50,000 small arms rounds per confirmed enemy killed. This includes rifle fire, machine gun fire, and aerial gunnery. Artillery and air-delivered ordnance add millions more pounds of explosive. The result is a war measured in volume. Volume of fire, volume of movement, volume of logistics. In May 1968, Operation Speedy Express in the Mekong Delta is credited with over 10,000 enemy killed in 6 months, but subsequent investigations suggest that a significant proportion were unarmed civilians. The pressure model, defined by search and destroy sweeps, free fire zones, and reliance on body counts, generates friction between tactical action and strategic outcome. High ammunition expenditure does not translate to territorial control. High body counts do not translate to pacification. The contrast with ANZAC SAS operations is architectural, where a United States brigade expends hundreds of thousands of artillery rounds in a multi-week operation. An SAS patrol may fire fewer than 100 rifle rounds in a single ambush and achieve a confirmed enemy casualty rate approaching 1-to-1. Where American units spend days sweeping a suspected base area and often find it abandoned, SAS patrols observe the area for days before any forces are committed. ensuring targets are present. The difference is not courage, not training quality, not even technology. The difference is doctrine. One model applies pressure through volume, the other applies presence through information. One seeks to dominate by weight of fire, the other seeks to dominate by weight of knowledge. In the same war, these two models coexist, each serving different strategic assumptions about how insurgencies are defeated. SAS Hill, Nui Dat, and patrol areas, 1967 to 1970. On the small hill that serves as the SAS squadron's base within Nui Dat, a pre-patrol briefing reinforces procedures that have become ritual. Noise discipline, no metal-on-metal sounds, tape buckles and weapon slings. Remove identification discs from chains. Light discipline, no torches at night except under ponchos, no visible fires, no glowing cigarettes. Scent discipline, no soap, no insect repellent, no deodorant, no smoking on patrol. Waste discipline, bury all food scraps and human waste, leave no trace. These are not suggestions, they are operational requirements enforced by patrol commanders and monitored by squadron staff. A single lapse, a cough, a snapped twig, the smell of cooking can compromise a patrol and turn observation into contact. The difference between invisibility and detection is measured in decibels and odors. Radio discipline is equally strict. Patrols carry PRC-25 radios but transmit only at scheduled times or in emergencies. Messages are encoded and brief. The brevity codes reduce a complex situation report to a few syllables. Even the squelch breaks on the radio net are counted to confirm patrol status without voice transmission. The assumption is that the enemy monitors radio frequencies and can direction-find transmissions. In 1968, Major Reg Beasley assumes command of one of the SAS squadrons and institutes a policy that shocks some observers. He removes the kills board that tallies enemy casualties by patrol. Beasley's stated position, recorded in interviews and unit histories, is that the SAS mission is to gain information, not to accumulate body counts. The board is a distraction from the primary purpose. Reconnaissance drives targeting, targeting drives effect. Effect is measured in enemy disruption, not friendly scorecards. Yet the paradox persists. Under Beasley's command, the squadron will continue to contribute significantly to the overall enemy casualty toll. The patrols still ambush, the Claymores still detonate, the rifles still fire, but the framing has shifted. Success is redefined as intelligence collected, areas denied to the enemy, and operations enabled, not as kills tallied. This philosophical shift reflects a deeper understanding. In a war where the United States measures success by body counts and ammunition expended, the ANZAC SAS measures success by information gained and territory made transparent. Discipline, silence, scent control, movement discipline, fire discipline is not merely fieldcraft. It is a weapon system. It allows 5 men to observe an enemy company without being seen. It allows a patrol to choose when and where to fight. It converts invisibility into advantage and advantage into lethality. Nui Mai Tao area, Phuoc Tuy and Binh Tuy provinces, early 1969. The Mai Tao mountain complex rises in the northern part of Phuoc Tuy and extends into Binh Tuy province, a rugged, heavily vegetated area long used by Viet Cong forces as a base and sanctuary. On planning tables at Nui Dat, staff officers overlay SAS patrol reports on aerial photographs and maps. Over months, the overlay becomes dense with annotations, trails confirmed, camps located, bunker systems identified, cache sites marked. The reconnaissance phase is deliberate. SAS patrols insert into the approaches to Mai Tao and spend days observing. They walk the same trails enemy forces use, ford the same streams, and identify the same waypoints. Each patrol report adds detail. A trail junction is initially reported as suspected enemy route. A second patrol confirms use and notes fresh footprints. A third patrol observes movement and counts personnel. A fourth patrol finds a camp nearby and sketches the layout. The intelligence picture sharpens from vague to precise. The Viet Cong assume that remoteness equals security. The jungle canopy defeats aerial observation. The terrain is difficult, requiring multi-day foot movement to reach. The assumption is that Allied forces, dependent on helicopters and artillery, will not commit resources to such marginal ground. The assumption is incorrect. By mid-1969, the approaches to Mai Tao are as well known to 1 ATF as the immediate surroundings of Nui Dat. Defensive fire tasks are registered on key junctions. Helicopter landing zones are identified and cleared. Patrol routes are mapped and timed. When the decision is made to commit infantry and armor to clear Mai Tao, the operation is not a speculative sweep into unknown terrain. It is a targeted action against known positions. The clearance operation finds bunker systems, supply caches, and training areas exactly where SAS patrols reported them. The engagements are sharp but short. Enemy forces, surprised by the accuracy of the Allied approach, withdraw deeper into the mountains. The bunkers are destroyed, the caches are captured or demolished, the trail network is interdicted, the significance is operational. Reconnaissance has converted a sanctuary into a target. The jungle, once opaque, is now transparent. The enemy's freedom of movement is constrained not by occupation. 1 ATF does not have the numbers to hold Maytao permanently, but by knowledge. The task force knows where the enemy is, where the enemy moves, and where the enemy hides. That knowledge is the product of months of 5-man patrols walking quietly through the same jungle the enemy thought it owned. Phuoc Tuy Province, Operations Room and Field, 1969 to 1970. In the 1 ATF Operations Room, situation boards track multiple company-level actions across the province. Infantry companies from 5 RAR or 6 RAR move to assault bunker systems. Armored personnel carriers from 3 cavalry provide mobility and fire support. Artillery batteries provide pre-planned fires on routes and suspected positions. Each action is informed by intelligence gathered over weeks or months by SAS patrols. The pattern is consistent. A patrol identifies a suspected base area. The patrol observes for days, confirming use, counting structures, noting movement patterns. The report feeds into the intelligence cell. Staff cross-reference with signals, intercepts, and aerial photography. A target dossier is compiled, grid references, estimated enemy strength, approach routes, likely defenses. The operation is planned. Infantry and armor are tasked. Artillery fire plans are registered. Air support is coordinated. The assault is launched. The results are measurably different from earlier operations. In 1966 and early 1967, large sweeps often produced minimal contact. Enemy forces detected the approach and withdrew. The sweeps covered ground but found little. By 1969 and 1970, operations are shorter, more focused, and more lethal. The enemy is fixed in position because the intelligence is current. The bunkers are real because patrols have seen them. The assault is efficient because the geometry is understood. One operation in the Long High Hills in late 1969 illustrates the pattern. SAS patrols identify a bunker system used by a local Viet Cong company. The patrols observe for 2 weeks, confirming occupation and routine. The task force plans a cordon and search with infantry and armor. Artillery strikes the bunker positions at each hour. Infantry assaults from 2 directions, while armor blocks withdrawal routes. The contact lasts 3 hours, the bunkers are destroyed, weapons are captured, and enemy casualties are confirmed in the dozens. Friendly casualties are light. The cumulative effect is pacification. By late 1970, Phuoc Tuy Province is one of the most secure in Thread Corps. Highway 15 is open, villages are under government control. Viet Cong main force units have withdrawn to remote border areas. This outcome is not achieved by occupying the province with overwhelming numbers. 1 ATF never exceeds a few thousand personnel. It is achieved by making the province transparent through reconnaissance and then applying precise, targeted force against identified threats. SAS patrols have not won the war. They have made the battles smaller, shorter, and more certain. In a war defined by ambiguity, they have provided clarity. Nui Dat and Canberra, 1971 to 1972. As the last SAS squadron prepares to withdraw from Vietnam in October 1971, staff officers compile final operational summaries. The statistics are precise. Between February 1966 and October 1971, ANZAC SAS forces conducted approximately 1,200 patrols in Phuoc Tuy and neighboring provinces. These patrols are credited with approximately 500 confirmed enemy killed, over 100 probable enemy killed, 47 enemy wounded, and 11 captured. Friendly casualties. 6 SAS personnel dead from all causes, including accidents and illness, and 28 wounded. Total ANZAC SAS personnel who served in Vietnam, approximately 580. The ledger is reviewed in Canberra by Australian Defence Staff, archiving Vietnam-era records. For comparison, total Australian forces in Vietnam exceed 60,000 personnel over the course of the war. Australian casualties, 521 killed, over 3,000 wounded. The SAS contribution, measured by personnel deployed, is less than 1% of the total Australian commitment. Measured by enemy casualties per friendly casualty, SAS has the highest ratio of any Australian unit. The arithmetic is uncomfortable. A single 5-man SAS patrol operating for 10 days in enemy-dominated territory might achieve 1 to 3 confirmed enemy casualties for 0 friendly casualties. A battalion-level operation involving hundreds of personnel might achieve similar numbers, but with a higher friendly casualty count and vastly higher ammunition expenditure. The conclusion is inescapable. Small, disciplined, intelligence-driven patrols are more efficient than large sweeps. The broader context tempers the tactical success. Australia begins withdrawing forces from Vietnam in 1970. By 1972, the withdrawal is complete. In 1975, the Republic of Vietnam collapses. The strategic outcome is failure. No amount of tactical efficiency at the battalion or squadron level can compensate for the collapse of the South Vietnamese state and the withdrawal of American support. Yet the operational record in Phuoc Tuy stands. Between 1966 and 1971, the province transitions from contested to secure. Roads are open. Villages are under government control. Viet Cong forces are marginalized. This is achieved not by garrisoning every village or sweeping every valley, but by systematically mapping the province, targeting enemy forces with precision, and denying freedom of movement through persistent patrolling. The SAS contribution to this outcome is disproportionate to its size. The ledger of the Quiet War is logged in patrol reports, contact summaries, and casualty rolls. It is a record of economy of force, economy of ammunition, economy of time. In a war defined by excess, the ANZAC SAS proved that less could be more if discipline and intelligence shaped every action. Australia, 1972 to the 1990s. In the years following withdrawal from Vietnam, Australian Army professional journals and doctrinal reviews examined the lessons of 1ATF's deployment to Phuoc Tuy. The analysis is measured, not triumphalist. The strategic outcome of the war is acknowledged. South Vietnam fell, but the operational performance in Phuoc Tuy is studied for what it reveals about counterinsurgency, small unit tactics, and intelligence-led operations. The SAS experience is central to this analysis. Post-war doctrine emphasizes long-range patrolling, strict noise and movement discipline, integration of reconnaissance with targeting, and reliance on pre-planned fires and extraction plans. These are not abstract principles. They are codified lessons from nearly 1,200 patrols conducted under operational conditions. The patrol model is preserved. Australian Army infantry units adopt modified versions of SAS fieldcraft for reconnaissance platoons. The emphasis on intelligence as the driver of operations becomes a doctrinal constant, reinforced by Vietnam experience. Ammunition discipline, fire control, and short engagement windows are taught as principles, not just techniques. The SASR itself continues to refine the model in peacetime and in later deployments. Surveillance patrols in northern Australia apply the same principles: small teams, long endurance, minimal signature. Peacekeeping operations in the 1990s and 2000s see SASR elements conducting reconnaissance and surveillance missions using tactics directly descended from Nui Dat. Globally, military trends move toward the SAS model without always acknowledging the precedent. The proliferation of special operations forces, the integration of precision-guided munitions, the emphasis on intelligence surveillance, reconnaissance, and the rise of unmanned aerial vehicles all echo the principle that information and precision are force multipliers. The United States, which expended 50,000 rounds per casualty in Vietnam, develops the capacity to strike individual vehicles with GPS-guided munitions in Iraq and Afghanistan decades later. The arc of military evolution bends toward what the SAS was already practicing in Phuoc Tuy. Decades after Vietnam, Australian Special Operations courses still train candidates to operate in small teams over long distances with strict signature control. The course syllabus includes navigation by map and compass, radio discipline, camouflage and concealment, ambush drills, and extraction procedures under fire. These are the direct descendants of the patrols that walked out of Nui Dat in 1967 and returned days later with enemy casualty reports and zero friendly losses. Vietnam did not create the SAS model, but it validated the model under operational conditions and ensured that the lessons would be preserved, studied, and applied in future conflicts. Phuoc Tuy Province, 1966 to 1975, and retrospect. A comparison of maps and aerial photographs of Phuoc Tuy taken in 1966 and 1971 shows a transformation. In 1966, much of the province is outside government control. Highway 15 is subject to ambushes. Villages paid taxes to the Viet Cong. Australian patrols outside Nui Dat move cautiously, expecting contact. By 1971, the roads are secure, villages are under government administration, Viet Cong main force units operate only in remote border areas. Phuoc Tuy is a success. In 1975, the Republic of Vietnam collapses. North Vietnamese divisions advance on Saigon, encountering minimal resistance. The South Vietnamese army disintegrates, the government flees. The strategic failure is absolute. No province, however well secured in 1971, survives the systemic collapse of 1975. Yet, the operational reality in Phuoc Tuy between 1966 and 1971 remains documented and undeniable. The province was pacified, the roads were held, the enemy was marginalized. This outcome was achieved not by massed forces, but by a task force that never exceeded a few thousand personnel, supported by a reconnaissance element that never fielded more than a few dozen operators on the ground at any one time. The SAS contribution is quantified in patrol reports and casualty ledgers. Approximately 1,200 patrols, approximately 500 confirmed enemy killed, approximately 100 probable, 6 SAS dead from all causes, 28 wounded. The ratio of enemy casualties to friendly casualties exceeds 80 to 1. The comparison with United States figures, 50,000 small arms rounds per enemy casualty, underscores the scale of efficiency. Major Reg Beasley's documented remark that SASR was in Vietnam to gain information rather than to kill sits alongside the casualty ledger. The paradox is instructive. A unit that prioritized reconnaissance over body counts still delivered one of the highest kill ratios in the Australian Army. The lesson is that intelligence-driven operations naturally create opportunities for lethal effect, and that disciplined restraint, choosing when to shoot rather than shooting on contact, increases lethality by ensuring that each engagement is controlled, brief, and decisive. The model applied in Phuoc Tuy was not restraint for its own sake. It was precision that multiplied effect. Fewer men, fewer rounds, fewer minutes exposed, more decisive outcomes. Presence, not pressure. Knowledge, not volume. Silence, not noise. In a war remembered for excess and futility, the record of ANZAC SAS in Phuoc Tuy demonstrates that in one crucial sector, the most effective weapon was disciplined, data-driven silence.